All right, welcome back to the 2 Minute Warning, episode 398, back on the topic of the MLB. And today I'm going to be giving you my top 3 teams that are having or have had the worst offseason so far. Again, before we get started in this video, question of the day, and that is, who is Major League Baseball all-time stolen base leader? Comment below if you know the answer, and if you don't, stick around to the end of the video, and we will talk about it then. But again, who had the worst off-seasons? Well, first I want to start off on a more positive note and kind of look at who had good off-seasons. Your obvious answers, of course. I think the best off-season so far has been with the San Diego Padres. Have acquired so many good players, more specifically, or for the most part, pitching. Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Clevenger, I think, was really earlier. Maybe that was even last year. But their pitching staff is looking fantastic. And then they picked up a good second baseman in Kim, and they also have re-signed Tatis for 14th season. So I think the Padres are winning this offseason battle, but the Mets, for the most part, signing Lindor and, of course, James McCann as well, they've had a good offseason. Guess you could maybe make the argument that the Dodgers have because they picked up a good pitcher in Trevor Bauer, but I do think they're overpaying him. But there have been plenty of teams that have had good off seasons. The Blue Jays, another big one, Springer and Simeon. So there are plenty of teams that are doing great things this offseason. But today, again, I'm going to be looking at the teams that have done the worst. And I'm going to be giving you my top 3. Before we get into my top 3, I do have a couple honorable mentions of worst offseason so far. One being the Cincinnati Reds. Obviously lost Trevor Bauer. That hurts. But you can't necessarily say that's really their fault. They just couldn't quite pay him what he wanted because he was asking for so much money. But they really have done nothing. They've lost big pitchers. They tried to trade away Sonny Gray earlier in the offseason. So the Reds seem as if they don't want to win baseball games, or at least seem that they don't think they can without Trevor Bauer. So the Mets have kind of just seems not even like they're failing. It just seems like they don't care about winning baseball games. So the Reds would be in my top 5 if I were doing top 5. Another weak one is the LA Angels. Their starting rotation is really bad. They've really, over the last couple of seasons, failed to make big signings. They really pursued Garrett Cole back in 2020 or 2019 after he left the Astros and failed. Obviously, the Yankees got him. They really tried to pursue Trevor Bauer this offseason, couldn't quite close a deal with him. So the Angels have really big starting rotation pitching problems that they failed to address. Tried to, but failed. All right, so coming in at my number 3 spot for worst offseason performance so far is the Philadelphia Phillies. A couple good things they have done. They have re-signed JT Realmuto, arguably best catcher in baseball, top 3 catcher for sure. They've also re-signed Didi Gregorius. So Realmuto's returning 5 years, $115 million. Didi's back for 2 years and 28. So those are big signings, and that was a good move by the Phillies. They had a 5th ranked scoring offense in 2020, so really bringing those 2 guys back should help restore that. But the pitching is where I have a problem with this Phillies team. Last year, their bullpen ERA was above 7, really by far the worst in the league, 7.06 to be exact, their bullpen ERA. To try to fix that, they signed Archie Bradley and 2 other guys that aren't even on the roster right now. So that was their attempt to fix that problem. But when you look at the free agent market, as far as relief pitching, there was really so many options. I mean, Alex Colomé to the Twins for $6.5 million. Could have got him. Kirby Yates to the Blue Jays for $5 million. Could have got him. A guy that I really like, free agent from Atlanta, now with the Padres, Mark Malanson. They only paid $3 million for him. He was not expensive, but he has always been solid in his career. I think they could have made a push for Mark Malanson, but they didn't. And Robert Osuna and Shane Green are still available, and it seems like the Phillies are not really making any sort of attempt to acquire anybody. Again, that Mark Malanson, he's aging, and he would have been really inexpensive, but he's a guy that would definitely bring that bullpen ERA down. And then, like I said, Kirby Yates solid to the Blue Jays and Alex Colomé cheap to the Twins. And then with Osuna and Green still available, I think the Phillies could have and still maybe can do some more to fix their bullpen problems. But because of the depth of the relief pitching free agency, they really should have done a better job. And then starting rotation, you look at Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, 2 fantastic starters, a really good 1-2 punch. But after that, you really got no faith in the rest of their starting rotation, so they could have done a better job. But again, the starting pitching market was definitely less extensive than the relief pitching. I mean, you had Joe Musgrove from Pittsburgh they could have got. I mean, maybe make a push for Trevor Bauer, but you're already paying Bryce Harper a lot of money. So I don't know if they could have afforded that. But they could have also pushed for starters. But the main issue with me for the Phillies offseason failures have been the lack of addressing their bullpen problems. So that's number 3 on my list. Going to number 2 is the Boston Red Sox, number 2 on my worst offseason so far. And you can probably guess why, and it's because of the fact that they parted ways with Andrew Benentindi and are going to part ways with Jackie Bradley Jr. No intention of re-signing him, which I think is a mistake. What have they done? They've acquired Hunter Renfroe from the Rays, a solid outfielder, right-handed pitcher. Garrett Richards they've gotten. They got Adam Ottavino from the Yankees bullpen. They got Kike Hernandez from the Dodgers. I think he will be a solid role player for that team. Marwin Gonzalez, an infielder, I believe, from the Astros. They got him, and they got Franchi Cordero from the Kansas City Royals. That was part of the Benentindi trade. So those are the players they have acquired. But if you look at, essentially they're replacing Benentindi and Jackie Bradley Jr. with Hunter Renfroe and Franchi Cordero. Cordero is he's a useful guy. He's a solid player, and Renfroe is definitely a guy that's going to be able to hit, I don't know, in a full season, assuming we have a normal season, 25 plus home runs. He's going to swing the bat pretty well. He's probably a 240, 260 hitter, somewhere in that range. So Renfroe's solid. Cordero's solid. When you look at what Benentindi meant to that team, he was one of the faces of the team. He was the leader of the outfield. He was still young. He was a doubles leader on the team. He hit so many doubles, and it hurts even me as not a Red Sox fan whatsoever that they are parting ways with Benentindi. And then you look at Jackie Bradley Jr., top 2, top 3, top 4 defensive center fielder in baseball. He's very good on defense. Of course, not the plate, really. He's probably a guy that's going to hit sub 250 and an 8, 10, 12 home runs in a full season. But you really needed him on defense. You've seen the play where he robs a home run and falls in the bullpen. He's really good on defense, and you trade away Benentindi, and you don't plan on re-signing JBJ, so that hurts the Red Sox for me. And then you look at the potential this team has. You still have a lineup that with Xander Bogaerts a top 5 shortstop, or top 10 shortstop for sure. Alex Verdugo in the outfield can swing it. JD Martinez at first base can really swing it, even though he only hit 213 last year. Kind of struggled last year. But Renfroe in the outfield is going to swing it pretty well. Rafael Devers in the infield is going to swing it really well. This lineup can pick up some slack, but not enough slack, I think, to really make up for the fact that you were willing to part ways with Benentindi, one of my favorite outfielders in baseball. And then starting rotation, they're going to be missing Chris Sale for some of 2021, who they missed all of last season. And then Eduardo Rodriguez is going to be back, but he can't carry that starting rotation. So mainly because of the fact that the Red Sox were really failed, not necessarily failed, but were willing to part ways with their outfield, I think that is why they're my number 2 on the worst offseason so far. Coming in at number 1 is the Colorado Rockies. They have really made a very, very, not even questionable decision this offseason, a very poor decision, at least from a fan standpoint. This is unbelievable. But again, to look at what they've added, Austin Gomber, CJ Cron, and Chris Owings. 3 solid guys, we want to say whatever. But the main reason why they have failed so miserably this offseason is trading away 5-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glove third baseman Nolan Arenado, for not only trading him away for very little, but also giving money with the best third baseman in baseball to the St. Louis Cardinals. That is Nolan Arenado and $51 million cash to the Cardinals for 5 prospects from the St. Louis Cardinals. And if you look at what they would have owed him in 2021 if they kept him around, they paid the Cardinals more than that to take Nolan off their hands. And essentially, in St. Louis, his opt-out remains on his contract. So theoretically, if he plays one year in St. Louis and wants to opt out, the Cardinals will have to pay him literally nothing and actually make money still from the transaction. So the Cardinals won times 1,000 on this trade, and the Cardinals lost times 10,000 on this trade because they really gave him away plus some money. Now, looking at what they got in those prospects, only one of the 5 is a top 10 prospect. He's at number 8 in the Cardinals infield. Montero, he's an infielder. And then, of course, Ian Desmond, infielder, opted out for 2021 with the Rockies. And Story can opt out after 2021. Trevor Story, pretty much the unanimous best shortstop in the league. Why would he want to stay in that falling apart franchise? They are basically the Houston Texans of baseball right now. So Trevor Story is going to want out after 2021. So there goes your shortstop, your best shortstop. There goes your second baseman already in Ian Desmond. And then they also have $160+ million invested in Charlie Blackmon, who is good, yes, but is getting older. And then their farm system ranks 29th in the league. So really, there's not a lot about this Rockies program that is solid. or that is good, except for right now their shortstop, who they're likely going to lose after next year. So coming in at a solid, unanimous number 1 spot for worst offseason so far is your Colorado Rockies. Guys, that's all for the video. Comment below if you agree with my takes or if you have another team that you think should be in the conversation for worst offseason so far. But guys, for the question today, of course, your MLB all-time stolen base leader is none other than Ricky Henderson, who has 1,406 stolen bases. Guys, thanks for watching. 2-minute warning.